My paranormal experiences started as a child. I grew up on the reservation here in Oklahoma. And, growing up in a native community, we're pretty superstitious. And we have a lot of rules that we go by. And as a child, up to your late teens, early 20s, there are rules that we get and that we have to abide by and follow as we're growing up. And when we have our children, we go through the same routine, teaching them what we were taught. And ghost was only like one part of it, and that was like in our early teens. But as for me growing up, I would say I was a gifted individual, but at the same time, I didn't realize that I was gifted. I would run into spirits. I would see spirits. I would interact with spirits, and sometimes try to ignore them, and they would be a pain in the butt to me. But that's just the way it was for me growing up. And it was hard for me sometimes to concentrate in school if I'm being bugged all the time, or I couldn't sleep at night because things were keeping me up at night trying to talk and visit. And it was hard for me to understand that. And I finally came to about 17 years of age, and I finally told my mom what was going on with me. And she, at first, didn't believe what was going on, but then she kind of understood what was going on because of my lineage on my mother's side. My mother's side, she's Kiowa and Comanche. And my great-great-grandfather was a holy man. And he bestowed gifts to each one of his grandchildren, his offsprings. And in the cycle of the offsprings, one child would receive all the gifts. And unfortunately, I'm the one grandchild or great-great-grandchild that received all the gifts. And it never made sense to her until she had to talk to Grandma and Grandpa about it. And then that's what she was told. And me being gifted the way I was, it was a little mind blower for her. And she had to get me trained to understand what I had. And at the time, there were no teachers in my area. And I learned on my own. And like I said, in the beginning, it was hard. It was tough. And I had to read up on everything that I can get my hands on in order to understand it. But let me go into the first story. My first encounter with the spirit was in our very first home that we lived on the reservation. The house was built back in 1969, and supposedly it was built near a burial ground. We're not sure on that, but there were a lot of unmarked graves in the area of that home site. And this happened to me around 4 or 5, and I can remember it pretty clear. And I just remember waking up about 2 o'clock, maybe 2:30 in the morning. And now remember, I'm about 4 or 5 years old. And I had little brothers. They were twins. And these guys were about a year old. And they slept, like I said, twins. They had their own rooms, so they had their own cribs and everything. I would get up and go check on them. I don't know why I did it. I just did it just to check on them. And then I would go back to bed. Well, I didn't know our house had a spook in it. And one night I went in there, and I'm halfway in the door, halfway to their cribs, and I hear a laugh, a giggle. And then I didn't realize where it was coming from. I'm looking for where it's coming from, and I'm looking eye level. Now remember, I'm little at this time. And then I remember looking up. My mom had a diaper bag, and it held a lot of diapers, but it was in the shape of a clown. And, back then it was a happy face, a clown face. And, but when I looked at this bag's face wasn't happy. It was evil. It looked like it had frown. It had jagged teeth, and it scared the heck out of me. And, I started screaming. And as I'm screaming, I hear this laughter. And I see this bag just jerking back and forth because it's hanging on the door. And it's jerking back and forth, jerking back and forth. And next thing you know, it was able to get off its hook. And it landed on the ground. Instead of falling over like a bag would fall over, it didn't. It stood up and it looked at me. And it's slowly dragging itself towards me. And this is scaring the bejesus out of me. I mean, scaring me to death. And I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. My little brothers wake up and like I said, these are little guys. They're a year old, maybe 2, but they don't understand what's going on. And about that time, my mom actually comes into the room. And when she came into the room and flipped the light on, she remembered seeing that diaper bag jump back up on the hook. So she grabbed me, picked me up, and was trying to comfort me and calm me down. And my dad comes in there, and she told him what he saw. And my dad, at the time, he's a church man. And he didn't believe in spooks and spirits, even though he had his share of run-ins, but he believed in God. And that's understandable. And that was my very first encounter with a ghost. In the same house, maybe a year later, 2 years later, I'm sleeping in that middle room where my little brothers were. We switched out rooms. And there was always something in the closet in the bedroom. And it was the spirit. And I remember I was going to play a trick on it one time. And I tied a string onto the door. And I put the string underneath the bed, and my bed was made. The covers were hanging over the bed. And I gently pulled the string, and the door opened just a little bit. So I'm sitting there waiting for something to happen. And next thing you know, the door decided to open up all the way. And I hear something walk out. It had shoes on, like leather patent shoes. It walked out. It walked into the middle of the room. I'm still under the bed, not making a noise. So then I can hear it walk back into the closet, and the door shuts. And the door shuts because you hear the click. So I kind of laugh, and I get out from underneath the bed, and I go back to the door again, and I barely open it. Barely even move it out of its locked position. Then I'd run back, crawl into the bed, pull the covers back down. Then I'd slowly pull the string. And the door would open up about 3 or 4 inches. And I'm just sitting there waiting for something to happen again. And the door opens up again. Slowly, but it opened up fully. And I think this is really neat because I hear something come out, but I can't see anything. And it did the same thing again. It walked out and walked into the middle of the room, turned around, and it walked back into the closet. Then it shut the door, and it locked and secured again. So I get out, and I go back to the door, and I gently open it again, just a little bit to get it out of its locked position. I crawl into the bed, pull the covers back down. And then the next thing you know, I gently pull it, and the door opens about 2 inches or so. And I'm sitting here waiting for the door to open again. Well, this time it didn't open slowly. It was kicked open. And it startled me. And I didn't know how to react to it because this door flew open like somebody kicked the heck out of it. And I made a little squeak noise. And next thing you know, I see the covers being ripped off the bed. And something reaches in underneath, grabs me by my legs, pulls me out, drags me out from under the bed. But I can't see anything. And I'm scared. I'm terrified. And I'm crying because I don't understand what's going on. And next thing you know, I'm being picked up and thrown on the bed. Now, this is where the painful part comes into this story. It decided to grab my legs and bend my legs and make an X with your shins. Your heels are crossed. And it made, after it crossed my heels, it made my heels touch the back of my head. I'm screaming now, full blast screaming, in pain, crying, scared as you can be. And I don't know what's going on. I just know this force is picking or has me held to the bed and got my heels touching the back of my head. And the next thing you know, my mom is banging on the door. The doors don't have locks, but she's banging on it and kicking it, trying to get in, and the entity wouldn't let her in. And then all of a sudden, the door flies open. Mom comes flying in. She looks at me on the bed, and my heels let go. And the force was so hard on me, my legs kicked back out, and I fell off the bed. And the next thing you know, she looked towards the closet, and the closet door shut. And she picks me up, grabs me, and she's calling my dad at work. And my dad says, "Don't worry about it. I'll handle it. I'll take care of it." And he ended up calling two of my grandpas. They came over, and these were our elders in the tribe. One was with the Native American church, hard believer in the Native American church and believed in God and everything. And my other grandfather was a spiritualist, Native American spiritualist. And he believed in the old ways and practiced the old ways. But my dad told my grandfathers about it. And maybe 2 days later, my mom wouldn't let me out of her sight in the house. And I had to stick with her everywhere I went. I couldn't play in my room. I couldn't go down the hallway. I couldn't do anything. That's how scared my mom was. So my grandfathers finally came over in the afternoon, and I remember them being there. And they told me to sit on the couch, and I sat there, and they said, "You stay here. You can't move until we leave." Well, I said, "Okay." My mom told me that, and I sat there the whole time. And they got their little coals going and ambers going, and they ended up blessing the house off, Native American style. And they purified and cleansed the house. And they kicked out the spirit that was in the house. They said they had a little bit of trouble with him because he was an older spirit, but they got him out. And that was my second run-in with a spirit. Like I said, growing up, it was difficult for me. And my run-ins with spirits were sometimes good, and sometimes they could be jerks, and sometimes they can be just a plain pain in the butt. And like I said, I've had so many run-ins and so many encounters with spirits. I would say I've had my best ones have been from 1990 up to the present. I've had, oh my goodness, I've had so many run-ins, so many encounters with spirits, different types, different tribes, non-native, it could be African American, it could be Hispanic, it could be, something different. And me being the way I am, it's sometimes when they appear to me, they could look extremely solid, like a solid person, or a person that's in our reality, a solid person. Sometimes they appear to me that way, or sometimes they're translucent and I can see through them. And let's go to one of my previous stories. This is probably around 2016. I got hired on as a manager at a casino. I've worked in casinos my whole adult life, pretty much. And I got the position as manager, and I had 43 officers underneath me at this casino. They had 3 properties. And they didn't tell me that the place was haunted. And I guess basically they wanted me to find out on my own and see how I would react to ghosts. And I didn't tell them that I knew how to deal with ghosts and, approach them and, usually come out with a win-win situation for both of us. And, anyway, I was on patrol. I'm new at this facility, and I'm making my patrols by myself. And I come in from the center of the casino, and I went through the west side of the casino. The west side is no longer active. It's a storage area now. So I walk in there. I'm looking around, and it feels a little odd. And I'm sitting there feeling odd. I'm like, okay, there's a spirit here. Where is he at? And I can feel him, but I can't really truly sense where he's at. So I walked across the floor heading south, and I'm getting ready to walk into HR. And something told me to look to my right. So I looked to my right. Now I'm looking north. I'm kind of looking northeast to the entrance from the floor. And soon as I did that, I see this basketball-sized orb. It was green in color, but it looked like it was on fire. And it was moving slowly across the floor, going from east to west. And you probably had about a good 35 yards in between the doors, maybe a little more. But I sat there and watched this green flame move across from the east door of the floor to the west side, going into the back of HR. And I'm sitting there following it, and I walk around the corner, and I'm still watching it. I don't think it knows that I can see it. And the next thing you know, it stopped at the door. And I'm sitting here thinking, what's it going to do? What's it going to do? And next thing you know, it went through the door. I didn't say nothing. I just kept my mouth shut, and I walked into HR, and I was visiting with the head person in HR, and we were just visiting and talking. So I didn't tell her anything about it. I went a couple of days before I said anything to her. Well, in those couple of days, something else happened. And I had to come in early one morning, about 4:30 in the morning. The officer had to get off early because he was going somewhere. He had to be on a flight out. He's going on vacation. So I said, no problem. I would come in that morning at 4:30. I get there at 4:30, and I asked him how the night went. He said, oh, night was peaceful. Nothing happened. It was quiet. And I said, oh, good then. All right. So I said, well, you have a good, safe trip, and I have fun on your vacation. And he said, thank you. And he left. It just leaves me in the casino. And we had one other person. They're sitting in surveillance. And it was about maybe 5 o'clock. No, it wasn't. It was about 5 o'clock. And I had all my paperwork. I went from the back office, and I sat in the front office because we have a big window, large window we could look out onto the floor. And I'm sitting there doing my paperwork. And it's dead quiet in this part of the building on the east side, dead quiet. And I'm sitting here doing my paperwork, and we have a bar over there against the east wall. All of a sudden, I hear cling, 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 and it's getting louder, and they're coming towards me. And then I was sitting there trying to figure out what this noise is, what this noise is, what this noise. All of a sudden, I realized I'm listening to spurs, boot spurs. And I was just sitting here thinking, oh, heck no. I'm hearing spurs coming from the bar. And they're walking towards me, and they're getting louder. And I'm sitting at the desk. I have a chair next to me, and I'm doing my paperwork. Well, these spurs and this boot noise stops right in front of me, maybe 3-4 yards away from me. And it stops. And I can feel the presence, but I can't see nothing. And I looked up. And when I looked up, I said, well, I got some extra paperwork here. I need help. If you're not going to do anything besides stand there and look at me, move along. Oh, I upset this spirit. Now, when he leaves, he's stomping as he walks out to the casino floor. And I'm sitting here doing my paperwork, and I can hear someone yelling at me. But on the casino floor, they have music playing throughout the night. And I'm sitting here trying to listen to what he's saying to me, but he's yelling at me. And I'm laughing. I said, I can't hear you. Come to the door and speak normal. Quit yelling at me because I can't hear you through the music. And it just got quiet. And I just started laughing. And I just continued doing my work. And next thing you know, maybe 10 minutes later, I hear the boot steps. And this time they're stomping across the floor. Stomping. And this time they're about 20 yards away from me. Not close to me at all, but it stops in front of me again. And I looked up, and I said, my paperwork's still sitting here. Do you want to help me? If not, go on. Oh, it turned off, and it stomped back to the same direction it came from, that east side bar. And I could listen to it as it walked away, and I knew exactly where it went. And I just started laughing. And then surveillance calls me and goes, Pete, what's going on? Oh, I said, I just had an encounter with a paranormal encounter. And she goes, oh, okay. And just left it at that. Now, this morning's active. And it's 5:30 in the morning now. Frank comes out from the bingo hall. boy, he's cussing, raising heck. He's mad. And I'm looking at Frank. I said, what's going on? He goes, the heck with this place. There's just too many spirits here. I can't deal with it. I quit. And I'm looking at him. I said, did you finish your details? He goes, no. I said, I quit. I said, all right, I'll pass it on. And he walked on out. And I'm just sitting here going, what happened here? Just what took place? So I called surveillance. And I said, hey, Frank just came by me. He said he quit. A spook was trying to mess with him. Could you get video? Where was he at? I said, he's in the bingo hall sitting against the east door to non-smoking. She goes, okay. And she goes, let me find it and I'll call you. I said, all right. So I'm sitting back down doing my paperwork and I get my phone call. And she goes, Pete, I need you to check this out. I said, all right, I'll be over. So I grabbed my radio, turned it on, and I walked out the door in the office, and I started walking across the casino floor and go through the east door into the open area there. Then I went out the door. Then I had to walk to surveillance. And I said, what'd you get? And she replied to me was, you've got to see this. This doesn't make any sense to me. But you can see Frank looks like he's trying to fight something. I said, okay, we'll play it. So she plays it, and we're looking at it. And it looks like Frank's, he's facing north. And next thing you know, it looks like he brushes his shoulder, his left shoulder. Then he's sitting here on his phone doing his thing, and he brushes his shoulder again. This time, his shoulder gets jolted. And he stands up, he drops his phone on the table, he stands up, and he turns around, he's ready to fight. Then he's looking at, in his mind, he said there should have been something there. But nothing was there. So that's what upset him. And he was upset, ticked off, and that's why he walked out the employee entrance door and he quit and told me that. And she goes, surveillance officer goes, I don't see anything. I said, I don't either. Blow it up. And she was, okay. So she blew it up. And it's not quite yet pixels yet. And I said, look. And you can see Frank sitting there. And behind him is another booth. And I said, there's something right there. I can see it. And she goes, I can't see it. I said, blow it up again. She turned it up just a little bit more. Now we're seeing straight pixels. And we can see Frank sitting there. And next thing you know, I see an arm move. I said, look, there's his arm. And she goes, what? I said, look, replay it. So she replayed it. And you can actually see this entity's arm coming out and kind of like messing with Frank's left shoulder. And he thinks it's a bug and he brushes it off. And then that spirit pulls back. Then it leans forward again and it does it again. And Frank does it again, brushes it off. Now the spirit's getting pretty daring. We actually see the spirit reach over and grab his shoulder and shake his shoulder. And when he did that, Frank kind of just drops his phone on the table and he jumps up, turns around, and he's ready to fight. And when he did that, that spirit jumped back. And I said, you know what's even crazier about this video? And the officer goes, what? I said, look, that spirit's waist is sitting in the middle of that table. And she goes, oh my God. And oh my God, that's a ghost. I said, yeah, save this part, put it on a different CD. So she burned it to a different CD. And I had a separate CD that had nothing but ghost encounters with our employees. And I go back to my desk. Now it's about 6:30, 6:45. Okay, now take that back. It's 6:30. Same morning, I get a phone call from surveillance. And she goes, Pete. I said, yeah, what's up? And she goes, do we have anybody in? No, I take that back. One of our bingo employees came in because she had to count papers that morning. And it was about 6:30. And I greeted her and gave her a radio, and she walked on to the back to the bingo hall. And she's in the employee break room back there. And I'm up in the east side of the building. And maybe 5 minutes there, probably 6:35, 6:38, somewhere in that time, I get a phone call from surveillance. And she goes, Pete. I said, yeah. Who's in the building with us right now? I said, I can't remember the lady's name. But I said, so-and-so's here. And she got her radio, checked the radio out. And she's sitting in the bingo hall because she's got to count papers starting at 7. And she goes, so there's just you and me and so-and-so. I said, yeah, that's it. Just 3 of us. She goes, who's sitting over in the East Bar smoking a cigarette right now? I said, nobody's there. Why? What's going on? She goes, there's a female sitting at the table smoking a cigarette. I said, what is she wearing? And she said, kind of a turtleneck, white turtleneck, and light blue jeans, blonde hair. She's sitting there smoking a cigarette. And I get up. I said, let me go check. So I grab my radio and I'm walking. I get out the door and shut the door. As soon as I shut the door, all the hairs on my body stood up. I said, I know what that is. I said, okay. So I still walked over there anyway. I could smell cigarette smoke, but I couldn't see what was there. So I'm on the radio. I said, you got me on camera? She goes, yeah. I said, is she still here? She goes, no. I said, where'd she go? She goes, I don't know. It was like a blink of an eye. Then she was gone. And I was like, okay, rewind video and see if we got her on camera. If we got her on camera, I need that put to the CD as well. She goes, okay. And she calls me back about 12 minutes later. And she goes, Pete, I hate to disappoint you, but we did not get her on camera. But I saw what I saw. And I said, I believe you. And I was like, okay, add this up. Okay. 3 encounters in one morning. I said, that's kind of active. I think they're trying to scare me right now. And I just left it at that. And it was funny. That casino, I had so many encounters in that casino. I would give over 50 ghosts in that casino. And that's the crazy thing about it. We used to sit there in the office and look out towards the south doors. And there's about 12 doors. And the sunlight would be coming in. And we would sit there and we just watch. And I would be sitting there doing my paperwork just to hang out in the front, visit with the guys. And my officer Stone would say, hey, Pete, look, there's something moving over there. I said, where? And he would give me the directions, give me where it exactly is. So I'd look over there. And sure enough, you would actually see a shadow person moving against the wall. And I said, wonder what he's trying to do. He goes, I think he's trying to get from this side of the door to the other side of the door, but he doesn't want to be seen. So I said, all right. So I continued working. And he goes, there, he's making his move. He's making his moves. So I looked up, and the only thing I caught was a foot leaving the wall. And he stepped into the light and crossed over to the other side of the door. And I started laughing. Okay, all I caught was the left part of his foot or back foot or something, but he crossed from the west side of the door and went to the east side of the doors. And I just started laughing about the whole thing. And I said, these ghosts are pretty sneaky. And he goes, yeah. And he goes, I've seen my fair share here and I've had my encounters. And I said, I bet you have. And this facility, this casino was so spooky. My third shift officers were paranoid working in there. And it was hard to keep third shift officers because of the encounters they had in there. There was, after a while, then I went to HR and I visited with Gina in HR. And I said, well, you hired me on. I accepted and I'm having a pretty good time here. I just want to know why you guys never told me this casino was haunted. And she says, if we would have told you that, would you have stayed? I said, probably, yeah. And she goes, really? I said, I have no problems with ghosts. I know how to deal with them. And she goes, you know how to get rid of them? I said, not in this facility, because there's always something or someone bringing things back in, even though we toss them out. And she was like, oh, it's like that? And I said, yeah, it's like that, because you just don't know who's coming in and who's got what on them. And they like this facility, they're going to stay. Then that means we got to do it all over again to clean it back out. And she goes, okay. And she goes, I just wanted to let you know something. I said, yeah. And she goes, every now and then, maybe once a week or twice a week, we'll have an old lady come back here in HR and she'll be singing at the end of the hallway. And I said, what is she singing? She goes, she's singing Native American tunes. I said, okay, what's weird about that? And she goes, it's in the call language. And Gina was call. I was like, really? Are they church songs? What kind of songs are they? And she goes, I'm not sure because I'm not fluent in call. And I'm just like, okay. And I just left it at that. And about 2 weeks later, I get a phone call. They said, Pete, we need you over here in HR now. And this is before 8 o'clock in the morning. So I zip on over there and I go into the break room. I said, well, what's going on? They said, oh, we just want to see something. And we were sitting there eating donuts, drinking coffee and BS. And all of a sudden I hear this woman starting to sing. And it was a pretty tune. And I'm just like, we're the only ones in HR right now. He goes, yep, we're all sitting in here right now. And I'm just like, okay. And I tipped my head out and I looked out in the hallway towards the end. I don't see nothing. The music stopped. She quit singing. So I tipped back into the break room, and then she started singing again. And she goes, didn't we tell you that we could hear her singing? And I'm just like, I didn't. I believed you guys, but until I witnessed it, I believe now. And this facility was so active with all the crazy things that were in it. In the bingo hall, they would actually hear a child running through and laughing and giggling, and it would actually pull on the guest, the female's hair. And we would, the guest would approach the officers and say, I thought children weren't allowed in. They said they're not. Or the officer said they weren't allowed in here. She goes, I kept hearing a child giggling behind me, and then someone would gently tug on my hair. And it says, that's one of our residential ghosts that stays in this casino. And they were like, ghost? And I said, yeah. Or they would tell them yes. And the guests got used to it. They would report things to the security officers, or if I was in there, they would tell me things that happened to them in there. And I was approached by the bingo manager, Terry, and he asked me to smoke off the bingo hall. And I said, yeah, I'll take care of it. And it was late one night. I came in just to smoke off the bingo hall and clear it out and get rid of the bad energy that was in there. And before I started, I kind of walked around to get a feel for it. And it was always in the smokers area, the non-smoking section. Giant glass that separated the bingo hall. And they had automatic sliding doors. So the door would open and I would step in. And I could feel it in there, but I couldn't see it. And I was looking all over. So I decided to look out into the main bingo hall. And I couldn't see nothing, but something moved out of the right side of my eye, the reflection. So I looked towards that reflection on the window. There was an Indian man, a Native American man, standing facing the window, looking at me. And I looked over to where he was supposed to be standing. There's nothing there. And I'm just like, what the? And I'm just like, okay, all right. So I started talking out loud, and I said, you're kind of scaring the employees here. You need to quit doing whatever you're doing, and I need you to leave the facility. And at that time, I told it to leave. And next thing you know, I got a hard hit on one of the bingo tables, like someone slammed their fist on the table. And I said, okay, I'm going to take that as a no. Now, I'm going to have to kick you out. And it slammed its fist on the table again. And I said, don't be mad at me and don't take it out on me. I said, you should be mad at yourself because you're scaring the employees. If you don't scare the employees, we have no problems, but you're scaring the employees now. So I have to do my other job. And I did. I cleared it out. Got the ghost out of there. Went through the whole room, the whole bingo hall itself, and cleared it all out. And it ceased for a while, at least 4 days, and it started up again. But my experiences throughout my lifetime have taken me all over the place. I help a lot of people. And in my journeys or my adventures that I had, my encounters, I do have witnesses to a lot of my happenings, and they can vouch for me. And it wasn't until 2007, when I moved back here to Oklahoma. I was living out in California for a while. I was in the military, got out and decided to stay out there an extra 6 years and move back home. But in my time moving back home in 2007, my encounters have really, really grown. And I've dealt with children. I've dealt with extremely small children. I've dealt with grown adults. I've dealt with old people, non-native and native. I've dealt with entities that would scare the heck out of you. And basically, what I do now is I go in and cleanse homes. You would say Native American Ghostbuster. That's what I do. And I take care of people's problems that have problems with spirits. And it's not an easy job, but it's a job that I'm good at. And I've helped a lot of people, non-natives and natives. And my experiences, like I said, it started off as a childhood, all the way through my teens, all the way up through my 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s. And my stories get even crazier. My stories can get extremely scary. This happened about 1993. This is at Haskell Indian Junior College at the time. It was a JUCO, but now it's Haskell Indians All Nations University. It's a 4-year university now. And they have dorms up there. And those dorms have stood there since the early 1900s. And one building has been there for 150 years. But, you know, it's a Native American college. And it's extremely active. And while I was up there, people kind of figured out and knew what I could do. And I would help people that had to deal with spooks that were in their rooms, in the dorms. And I was asked by a young female to come into her room and check her room over. And I was like, okay, well, tell me what's going on. And she would tell me, I'm being bothered at night. Whatever it is won't let me sleep. It'll yank the covers off. It'll open the closet door, then slam it. I could be the only one in the room, or my roommate would be in the room and she would witness what's going on. And I said, okay. I told her that I would help her. And I said, name a date and time. I'll come over and I'll clean your room up for you and we'll figure out what's going on. Well, come to find out, we got the date and the time and I showed up with my gear and I talked to the dorm matron, told him, I was here to assist a student that had a problem with the spirit. And the dorm matron said, hey, no problem. Do what you got to do. I said, all right, that's all I need to hear. So I got it cleared through the dorm matron. And I went to this room, knocked on the door, and I said, all right, girls, I'm here to do what I got to do. I need you guys to leave. Come back in about 30, 40 minutes. And I had my coals going, and I left them out in the hallway on about 3 pot holders. I didn't want it to burn the carpet. And so I walked into this room, and I sat in this room in the middle of it. And I said, what's in here? Come out. Let's see what you're made of. And about that time, I heard some rustling going on in the closet. So I opened the closet up and I turned the light on. I kept the door open. I turned around and sat back down. And I said, you're bothering this female that's in here. And I can't remember her name at the time. And I still can't remember her name now. But I said, you're bothering so-and-so. It needs to stop. And it will stop. And I'll make sure it stops. And next thing you know, I saw a piece of paper get thrown off the dresser. And I said, well, if you can move a piece of paper, then touch me, hit me, do whatever you got to do. You think you're going to scare me. And it didn't do anything. And I said, that's what I thought. You're weak. And matter of fact, I call you out now because I'm going to challenge you. And when I did that, out of this closet was this giant gust of air. I mean, it shook the room. It turned into like a mini tornado in that room. There were papers flying and swirling all over the room. I'm standing up in the middle of this room. I said, get in front of me now. I'm challenging you now. And the next thing you know, I had this presence stop right in my face. And I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. And I said, I know you're standing right in front of me and I'm not scared of you. And I said, matter of fact, hold on. I'll be right back. And I stepped out in the hallway, grabbed my gear, I already had my ambers going in my cast iron skillet. And I said, guess what? You're leaving. I opened the window a little bit, and I started to clean and clear the room out. And next thing you know, whatever this was that was in this room, I felt it leave through the window. And then I shut the window. Then I got done and I did a little prayer and I asked God, was this entity sent to this girl? If it is, show me what's being used. And I looked at the beds, and all of a sudden, for some reason, I jumped on my knees and I looked under this girl's bed, and there was an earring, a golden earring that was taped under her bed. And I was like, I'll be dang. So I smoked off the earring, then I took it off. And then I went out and talked to the girls, and I asked them, do any of you girls got pierced ears? And they said, no, we both don't have pierced ears. I said, well, whose earring is this? And they looked at it and they said, it's not mine. And both girls said, that's not mine. We don't have pierced ears. I said, whoever owns this earring sent this ghost to you. You're upsetting some female. I don't know why, but you're upsetting this female, and this female had this spirit sent to you. So I got rid of it, and it's not going to come back, but I am going to take this earring out in the back and I'm going to bury it. And I did. After that point, the girl wasn't being bothered no more. And I said, just for giggles, put a knife at the window, put a knife by your dresser or your nightstand for at least a week or two. After that, then take them off. And the reason that we put knives up against the window seals and next to their nightstands, ghosts do not like sharp, shiny objects. They're scared of them for some reason. I don't know why, but they are. And that is something of a protection that will scare ghosts. And after that incident, my reputation got a little bit well known, and I was smoking off a lot of rooms and helping out Native American students that were being bothered by other students or entities that were naturally there from the beginning. And when I mean from the beginning, Haskell has a lot of ghost children, and they're children. They died there and they're buried there. They have a cemetery there. And but what was I dealing with in this one was not a child. It was an adult entity, but I cleared it out. And Pokey Hall at Haskell has always been active, and is still active to this day. Pretty much all the dorms are active there. The buildings themselves are active. About 1996 or 95, it's Halloween night. And I was chilling at home with my mom. And I was just kicking back. And they were having hot dogs, chips, cookies, caramel apples, stuff like that at the school. And my mom was the manager of the kitchen. She ran the kitchen for 42 years. And she goes, hey, they're up there at the school right now having hot dogs and stuff like that. You want to check it out? I said, all right, let's go. So I went up there with my mom. And as soon as we walked in the back door, we're walking down the hallway. We get into the main part of the kitchen. Her employee, Pat, comes running back there towards us. And my mom's like, hey, what's going on? She goes, Pat goes, didn't you see that little boy that just ran by here? We're like, no. What are you talking about? There was this little kid that was out. He's been playing in the hallway. He ventured up close to the conveyor belts for the dishes. I saw him. I went, hey, and he took off running back here, and I chased him. And I said, well, nobody came by us. And my mom looked at me, and she goes, go check it out. And she goes, Pat, just go back to your job. My son will go check it out. I said, all right. So I started off in the storeroom. They have a pretty good sized storeroom. So I went through the whole storeroom, the fridges and everything, didn't find nothing. And then I went out in the hallway again. Then I went down the other hallway going north. And I get to the offices and I open the door. And as soon as I opened the door, I felt the presence of a child. And I walked in, I turned the lights on and walked in the middle of the office. And I said, hey, guy, you're disrupting the people that work here. You're not scaring them. You're getting them mad. So don't show yourself. Don't be peeking around corners and looking at them and thinking you're scaring them. They're not. All you're doing is getting the people mad at you. Don't do that. And about that time, I felt this little guy run up on me right in front of me. And I actually felt him grab my hand. And I was like, dude, like I said, don't scare them. If you want a hot dog or candy or chips, let me know. I'll go get it for you and I'll bring it back here. And that's what I did. I actually went out there and got some candy corn and some a sucker and other pieces of candy. And I grabbed a hot dog and I cut it in half and I took it back there to the back office and I left it in the office. I said, hey, guy, this is yours. All right. So like I said, quit running around out here. You're getting employees mad at you. Don't do that. And from that point on, that little guy didn't come out no more. And I said, after tonight, and I said, then you can run around. Just let everybody clear out of here. Then you can run all over the place in here. And I went and found my mom. She goes, did you find him? I said, yeah, I found him. What'd you do? I said, I took him some candy and a hot dog and told him to behave. And she goes, really? And I said, yeah. And I said, it's working. And she goes, oh, okay. And that was Halloween night. You know, like I said, I've usually got a pretty good rapport with spookies. And I've always had just a good rapport. And like I said, this has led me down my road in clearing out spirits, helping spirits cross over, or, you know, bad entities, getting rid of them and knowing how to get rid of them. All my knowledge is through the Native American, our history, our lessons, what we were taught as kids. And we had certain men that would do certain things in our tribe. And actually, that's my clan. I'm with the Hisadog clan in the Ponca Tribe. We're cedar keepers. We are, I wouldn't say we're holy men, but we're spiritual advisors. And I am a spiritual advisor. I'm one of the youngest spiritual advisors. And I'm 55. No, 54. And, but I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for over 40 years, dealing with spooks and specters and different entities. But it's something I enjoy doing. I haven't been beat yet, but, who's to say I won't get my butt whipped, you know, one of these days. I've been pushed. I've been slapped. I've been kicked. I've been tripped, in dealing with them. A lot of people will argue and say ghosts don't exist. I'll argue right back with them and say, hey, ghosts do exist. I'm letting you know that right now. You might not like it, but yes, they do exist. They're on our plane. They are in our reality. But the thing is, we can't see them. And sometimes they can't see us. That's the difference. When you transition over from the living to the dead, you only move up one little level. And that's all you do is move up one little level. So it would kind of vary on the levels. Some spirits will transition and go to that level and they can't see the living, or the living can't see the dead. But it depends on the moon sometimes, because the veil can get thin between our realms. And that's when a lot of activity starts. People will have a lot of encounters, maybe just in 1 week. Then after that full moon's gone, it stops. You know, full moons have a lot to do with it. And the more full the moon gets, the thinner the veil gets between our worlds. And this is something that I've noticed and I've studied and I believe in, and I've seen it happen. The thinning of the veil and being able to see the dead, and the dead seeing us. Like I said, you know, these are my encounters, my adventures. And like I said, I've been all over the United States and I've helped a lot of people. And I've seen crazy things that you wouldn't believe. And, you know, if it wasn't for my helpers that were with me, they're my witnesses. And You know, like I said, if it wasn't for my witnesses, none of this would seem real at all, or I'm lying. And my brother used to be my right-hand man when it come to going in and cleaning homes out for people and helping people out. We did a job for the tribe one time. The council approached me and asked me to smoke the building off and clear it out because there was a lot of activity going on in the office at the TA, the old TA. And it was active at the time because I was on tribal council at the time. And this is around 2012, 2013, somewhere in there. But I was approached by Secretary Treasurer, and it was okay through the council for me to clear the building out. Activity was extremely high, especially in accounting. And I said, no problem. I'll be in this Saturday and I'll do it. So I called my little brother Friday night and I told him what was going on. He said he would be there and they would leave the doors open for me. And they did. So we started off down below in the kitchen and, we walked in there, we felt it out, and he goes, yeah, there's something in the kitchen. I said, yeah, there is. So let's hit the kitchen first. Let's make our way upstairs. And that's what we did. And we made our way upstairs. But first, while we were in the kitchen smoking it off, we went to the first closet and cleared it out. And then we went to the janitor's closet in the kitchen. And as soon as we opened the door and we pushed a little bit of smoke in there, next thing you know, my brother's about 4 feet away from me. And he's got the skillet and he's got the cedar going. He's got his fan going and I got my fan going and we're praying. And all of a sudden, this softball sized orb come out of that janitor's closet. It went around him on his right side, then went between us. And he sat and turned around and followed it. And I'm looking at it as it's going by me and it went out into the dining room. And my little brother's like, wow, okay, that was a big one. I said, yeah, it was. Let's finish. So we finished the kitchen off and we did the dining room. Now we've pushed it out the door, but we still have to go upstairs and do the rest of the building. So we have to go up and finish off the rest of the building. So we get upstairs, we do the restrooms. Now we're coming to the counting. And I open the doors to the counting and we start on one side of the counting room and we made our way around. We're smoking, blessing the area off, doing our prayers. And my little brother, he goes, hey, I'm going to the conference room. I said, okay, well, let me finish up. I'll lock up in here and I'll meet you. I'll go in there and I'll be in there in a couple of minutes. He goes, all right. So while I'm sitting there locking the north door in the counting, I'm walking over to the south door and I locked it and I shut the door. As soon as I shut the door, I can hear this little old woman's voice. She was mad. She goes, hey, you boys, what are you doing? You guys ain't supposed to be doing that in this building. And I turned around and I looked and there's nobody there, but I swear to God, there was a female standing there getting after me and my little brother. My little brother was in the conference room and he goes, Amanda, I'm in here. Come in here. And I kind of walked through the hallway and leaned into the conference room. I said, Jay, who are you talking to? Wasn't that Amanda? I said, no, that's not Amanda. Look outside the truck. He looks out the truck. Amanda's sitting in the truck. He goes, what the heck? And he goes, I said, you heard it? And he goes, yeah. And she was pissed. And I was like, yeah, she was, wasn't she? And he goes, whoa. I said, you got your recorder? And he goes, no, I don't. And usually my brother always carried a digital recorder with him because we'd always catch voices or them getting mad at us and saying that we can't do that to them and all this. But this time he didn't have his recorder, but we both heard it. And I just went back in the hallway, in the center of the hallway, and I was talking out loud. I said, don't be mad at us. The council told us to come in here and smoke the building off because there's activity going on. You're acting up in here. Other spirits are acting up. They're scaring the employees. You're not supposed to be doing that. Matter of fact, you're dead. You're not even supposed to be here on this realm with us. You are supposed to be in heaven or you're supposed to be in hell. Take your pick. But one way, you're going out those doors. I could let you walk out on your own, or I'm going to throw you out. Take your pick. And then about that time, the atmosphere changed. It went from a medium, all right, it went a little dark. So they were upset with me and my little brother. I said, all right. I opened the door, cracked it a little bit. I said, hey, we'll start in here. Then we're going to go down the hallway, hit them offices, swing back around, hit the Secretary Treasurer's office, and then we'll hit this door over here. Then we're done. Then I'm going to go outside and salt the outside. He goes, all right. That's what we did. But after each room that we did, the atmosphere was getting lighter and lighter. So we were actually forcing the spirits out the door. And when we got done, it was clean. It was cleared. Nothing was in the building whatsoever. So I grabbed 2 bags of Epsom salt. So I went outside and started salting the area down. And that was another barricade to keep the spirits from coming in. And some people in the tribe got upset with me because why is he putting salt on the outside? Why is he doing that? You know, that's another technique that I've learned to keep spirits out of areas and keeping them from going into areas and infesting an area and then scaring the heck out of people. Like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. And my encounters, like I said, some have been good, some have been scary, and some have been okay, you know, but not every encounter is the same. It's always different. And like I said, growing up as a child into my younger years and into my teens and graduating and, you know, moving and getting older, the intensities have gotten stronger, different levels of spirits. And my name is pretty well known in the spirit world, and they don't like me. And my question to them is, I don't care. Or the answer to them is, I don't care if you like me or you don't. I'm here to do a job, and I'm going to do a job. But all my encounters with spirits, like I said, some have been good. And there was no arguments and they left. But then again, there were some that were stubborn and had to be thrown out, and I did my job and I threw them out. Or I banished them to where they needed to go. Like I said, I've helped some cross over. And in crossing them over, like I said, it was interesting because some of them did not want to go. And but they got the point and they got to go where they needed to go. And all my encounters and all my teachings that I've been taught and me figuring everything out through my life has all been done through the Native American spiritualism. I'm pretty hardcore to Native American spiritualism. I believe in that life. I believe in that way. Don't get me wrong. I believe in God. There is one supreme being, you know, and that's who I pray to. And he's helped me out a lot of times. I mean, he's helped me out more times than I can count when it come to cleaning homes out and clearing homes. And I had to deal with several bad entities, and they were pretty fierce and pretty mean. They put a fight up. And, like I said, these are my encounters. There are people out there like me, you know, and my choice of weapons when cleaning and clearing out homes, I use cedar. I use barrel cedar. I don't use flat cedar. I'm with the Native American Church. That's a different religion, but it deals with God. And I believe in that religion as well. But, you know, like I said, my choice of weapons is cedar, Palo Santo. Those are my 2 main choices that I use when I'm clearing out homes. And my encounters that I've had, like I said, I've got experience, like I said, in fighting spirits. And some spirits have been good, some spirits have been bad. But like I said, my encounters are my encounters. Everybody that does encounter them are usually scary. But just to let you know, sometimes spirits, all they want is acknowledgement. That's usually the majority of them. If you think the way they live, they don't sleep, they don't eat, that would drive a person insane. But sometimes acknowledgement and saying, hi, I know you're there, just don't bother me, leave me alone. And sometimes that's all it takes for them to leave you alone, just acknowledgement. So, like I said, my encounters are my encounters. But I've got some stories that would scare the heck out of you. And I'm coming to the end of my time. So I'd just like to thank Vic for asking me to come on his show and do his paranormal site. And like I said, I've had some humdingers. I'm not going to lie. I've had some humdingers. I've actually done 2 exorcisms. And those were very intense. But like I said, next time, if he invites me back, I'll come back and I'll probably finish that story off. So just to let you guys know, stay safe, keep your faith, believe in your faith, and stand your ground with them. And most of all, your faith is what keeps you going through this. Belief and faith. And that's what's kept me going, doing what I'm doing. So like I said, I'm a Native American. I practice the Native American ways that I've been taught, and I'll keep doing what I'm doing through the Native American ways. But other than that, like I said, I've had a good time telling you my stories this evening. And thank you guys for listening. Y'all have a good evening. All right. Bye.
If you've had a paranormal experience and would like to be a guest on the show, please contact us by going to myparax.com. That's myparaex.com. Thanks for listening.